Hi everyone, welcome to A Stitch in Time. Today is Friday, April 14th, 2023, and this is episode 252. My name is Carol. I'm known as Knits and Pearls on Ravelry, and I live east of Vancouver in the Fraser Valley of British Columbia, Canada, where it finally feels like spring. We've had a nice sunny day here today. I've got the windows open and I can hear the birds singing outside. And everywhere the trees are starting to leaf up and the spring bulbs are blooming, blossoms are on the trees. It's just such a lovely time of year. Spring is one of my favorite seasons and it seems to have taken a long time to get here this year. So now that it has arrived, I'm just trying to enjoy every minute of it. So I have unexpectedly found myself alone here late this Friday afternoon. So I thought I would take advantage of the empty house and quickly record an episode before Cameron gets home from work. So I just gathered all my projects together. I haven't written any show notes yet for this week, although all of my works in progress are the same as what I showed you last episode, and so I can refer to those show notes if I need to refresh my memory. So yeah, let's just jump into things without any further ado. So first up, I have a pair of socks I've been working on. These are my community socks. The yarn is from Fiber Nymph Dye Works. It's the Mountain Tweed BFL base, and it is the community colorway. And this was a special colorway that was dyed up for qualifying participants of last year's Make It Your Own Make Along, which took place in the Fiber Nymph Dye Works group on Ravelry. And I have paired it up with some yarn from one of the holiday minis that I received last year. It was just the perfect shade of blue, and so nothing fancy. It's my usual top-down sock, 2x2 rib. I did a traditional heel flap and gusset. My usual rounded toe will be coming up, knit on 2mm needles. So I do have two of these socks that are basically at the same point. So they're coming along nicely. And now that I have done the heel and I'm onto the gusset, they have once again become just a great take along project, or one that's perfect for when I don't have too much brain space, which seems to be happening a lot these days. So love how these are turning out so far. Just such a nice, bright, colorful, cheerful colorway. Oops, I just shook the camera. Sorry about that. I have another pair of socks on the go also, called the Cozy Autumn Socks. This is a pattern by This Handmade Life, and I am knitting these from some yarn that I received last year from the Sweet Fiber Fall 2022 Sock Club, and the colorway is called Autumn Day. Well named. It's an 80/20 superwash merino nylon base. And I'm also really happy with how these are knitting up. I think this is just the perfect match of yarn and pattern. It's a 60 stitch sock, so I'm knitting these on a 2.25mm needle. And it is a simple and yet not completely mindless lace pattern. So these are perfect for when I want to engage my brain a little more than just on a plain knitting project. And I just really love how these are knitting up. My second sock is also at the same point, and I am ready to put in the heels. So I am going to attempt a traditional heel flap and gusset. And I'll see how it knits up. Sometimes with variegated yarns, you get a lot of pooling in that gusset area when you pick the stitches back up and start working the gusset. So I'm going to try a traditional heel flap and gusset, and if I don't like the way the yarn looks, I'm going to take those out and knit the leg a little bit longer and then do a short row heel. But I am hoping just to be able to do a traditional heel flap and gusset because I do like the way they look and I like the way they fit. So, I'm just going to take a quick sip of my drink here. I feel like I'm going a mile a minute, but it's mostly just my brain, that is. Okay, next project is my April project for the Yarn of the Month Club. Haven't mentioned it yet, but there are 2 make-alongs taking place in the A Stitch in Time podcast Ravelry group. The first is a year-long chatter thread called Another Year of Stash, and the other is the Yarn of the Month Club, which is a monthly make-along. So at the beginning of April, I pulled out this yarn from some that I had set aside at the beginning of the year. It is from Caterpillar Green, which is now known as Gauge Dye Works, I think. This is the MCN Fingering Shawl Striping base. So that's a 70% superwash merino nylon, 20% cashmere, 10% nylon. And this is the April Showers colorway. So there's their old label, yarn information. So this does have 548 meters, which is 599 yards. So plenty for a good sized shawl. So when I spoke to you last time, which I think was about a week and a half ago, almost 2 weeks ago, I had begun the, I just gotta reach, get my pattern, the Stormy Sky Shawl by Life is Cozy. This is a free pattern on Ravelry. Actually, I think it brings you to her website when you click on the link. And I was partway into this shawl. I had seen this same colorway of this yarn knit up in it by, it was a project by Kathy G, I believe. Don't know if I wrote that down, but that's kind of what's in my head. And yeah, Kathy G, and I liked the way it looked. But I had started knitting the shawl, and then when I was doing show notes for last episode, I saw that there was also a crochet version of the shawl. And so I decided to try this in the crocheted version. So I ripped out what I had started, because I was only about this far or so. And I did try crocheting, and I just didn't like how it looked in this particular yarn. And there was one of the stitches that I found difficult to do and didn't really like how it looked. I think I was doing it properly, but it just didn't flow the way crochet often does. So I decided to rip that back out and go back to knitting it. So I cast it on again, and I've made quite a bit of progress on it since then. It's just caught here, hang on. Caught on my needles. So do I have it the right way? I think so. Yeah, there you go. So I'll bring this a little bit closer so you can see there are 3 different stitch patterns. There's garter stitch, and then this elongated stitch, and then this eyelet lace. Let me see, I'll show you the eyelet lace in maybe a lighter color, might be easier to see. Maybe there we go. So yeah, it's again one of those pretty easy but not completely mindless projects, and I really like the way it's working up so far. For a while, this elongated stitch was always in a lighter color, but then it's been kind of fun to see it in the darker color the next time. Now the thing about the Gauge Dye Works shawl stripes is that the yarn is designed to as you knit a shawl that gets increasingly larger, the way this one does, the yarn is dyed in such a way that the color repeats appear to be about the same width. The stripes will remain sort of the same width as you knit them, and that's because the sections of those particular colors become longer and longer as you go through the skein. And so it gives you that, instead of having a shawl, I think I had a pattern sitting here, I might have moved it. Instead of having quite often you'll have a shawl where the stripes will start out quite wide and get narrower by the end. In this case, they kind of stay about the same width the whole way through the project. So enjoying that one also, and it's really nice soft yarn with the cashmere in it. And finally, last episode I also showed you that I had begun my Cullum Tea by Isabel Kramer. Unfortunately, my gauge was quite a bit larger than the pattern called for, even though I had swatched. And I think at the time I had it done and I was going to show it to you and then frog it and start over, and that's exactly what I did do. So I am making that pattern out of, whoops, wrong bag. I'm making it from this yarn. It's from Sweet Georgia Yarns. It's the Flaxen Silk Fine in the Cauldron colorway. So this yarn is 65% silk and 35% linen. And I really, really am enjoying knitting this up. Even though it's black yarn, it's very soft. It's not like the other kinds of cottons and silks and linen and hemp that I've knit with before. This has a really nice hand to it. And I realize I'm in the middle of a round here. I don't want to lose my stitches, so I'm actually going to just borrow my point protectors from my shawl here, because I've got lots of room on those needles. I won't lose my stitches. Put those on. So I have now, so what I ended up doing, I had started knitting the third size of this pattern, and so what I did was I went down to the first size and kept my gauge the same, and I have tried it on and this is fitting just fine, and I really like how it's turning out so far. Unfortunately, you're not going to get a very good look at the lace pattern. Oh, there you go. I think in the light you can see it. And maybe what I'll do is just stick a paper underneath, and that should also help define it. There you go. So very simple, some eyelets up here and then this little diamond shape down there. And it's just a little t-shirt with capped sleeves. So I went ahead and did the edging around the neck so that I could try it on and know that it was going to be sitting where it's going to be sitting on my neck. It's almost a boat neck. It's a very shallow neckline, as I say, with these little cap sleeves. And now all I have to do, now that it's been joined together, is just knit till a certain length. I'm going to knit it 1 inch longer than it says to, just because I generally have to do that for my long torso. And then you work this lace pattern at the bottom and it'll be done. Very nice, very simple, summery top. It is quite see-through, so I'll be sure to wear a camisole underneath it. These markers were just for the decreases that I had to work for the cap sleeve shaping. So yeah, enjoying that. Now that I'm in the knit stage, it's something I can just pick up and knit as many stitches as I have time for at that moment. Not a lot of brain space on this one either for a while now. And one more thing I've been working on is my paint by number. I realized that I left it downstairs, so I'm going to go grab that and show you the progress I've made on that too. Okay, so one of the projects that I've been working on lately is a paint by number that I bought, I think back in 2021. It's something I'm going to paint up and frame and put at the cabin. So this is the picture. It's called Fishing Boat on the Bay. And I don't remember exactly where I was last time I showed this to you, but I've done quite a bit since then. I have filled in the rest of this area and this area, and I was trying to finish up this area and this area yesterday, but then I start to feel a little bit nauseous. I find if I work on this too long, I think it's from bending over it and also just the concentration it takes with my, I have to really hone in with my eyes to see it well enough. Yeah, if I work on it too long, it just makes me feel a little bit ill, so I have to take a break. So it's too bad because I was really hoping to finish those up yesterday. But anyway, you can see it's coming together. It's actually really neat to see it on the screen because when I see it close up, I just see all the flaws in it, and this gives a better perspective. I had gone to use this kind of rusty brown color, that's color 13, and discovered that it was all dried out. The lid obviously had gotten left open. So I was able to find a very similar color at Michael's, just bought a little bottle of acrylic paint, and so I've been able to fill in, complete that area, and went on the boat a little bit too, and I think a little bit in the trees. So yeah, that's coming along. I'm quite enjoying that. It's been a good project. I lay it out on our coffee table in our family room downstairs, and that area gets the afternoon sun, and so it's just a perfect place to work on it while there's been construction going on upstairs. So I've been hiding out in my little hidey hole down there most of each day. So I actually have some acquisitions to share with you this week. They didn't all arrive this week, and they weren't all ordered this week, but all of a sudden I have 6 new skeins of yarn to show you from 2 different dyers. So while I was working on my shawl that I showed you, I got to thinking about gauge dye works and one of the colorways that I've always wanted to knit with, which is called Whiskey in a Teacup. And over the years I've gone on the Gauge Dye Works website, and it's never been in stock. So I found myself there again, and lo and behold, they did have it in stock. And so of course you can't just order 1 skein, so I picked up 3 skeins of Gauge Dye Works sock yarn. So first off is the Whiskey in a Teacup colorway. Can't describe exactly why I love this one so much, but I do. And apparently a lot of other people do too, because like I say, it was always really hard to get. So this is the it's a merino twist fingering, which is an 80-20 superwash merino, 20% nylon, and this is the classic stripe. And what's really cool, maybe you can see right there, there's like a length of this dark gray or black at one end that works like a mini skein, and so you can use that section to do complementary heels, toes, and cuffs, which is what I will do. So It's beautiful. If you are curious about how this looks knit up, this pattern, which I had originally explored to use my April Showers colorway with, this is Color Adventure by Tanya Lyons, and it was made with Gauge Dye Works yarn, and this is the Whiskey in a Teacup colorway in the shawl stripe. So that gives you an idea of how it's going to look knit up. And then I also picked up another couple of colorways. So this is also the classic, but this is Wildflower Fade round trip, and you can either get one way or round trip, and the round trip goes from, I don't remember exactly what order, but like purple to green and then green to purple. So if you divide the skein in half, you can knit two identical socks from it. You can also get one way, in which the skein just goes from like purple to green. I am not positive, but I think this also comes in the shawl stripe. And also they had, I think it was in worsted weight, they had fade sets, so you could get like, I think it's 5 different skeins ranging from purple to green that you could use to make a sweater, for example. They have all sorts of really cool things on their website. I encourage you to go check them out. They are, I think, in Victoria or on Vancouver Island anyway. So I got that one, that's Wildflower Fade, and then this one is called Weekend. This is also a round trip, so I think those will be really fun socks. I've always loved red and turquoise together. So those came, I think, last week. And then a while ago, I had placed an order with Fiber Nymph Dye Works. I had tried to resist. She brought out this Wild Atlantic pie, I think for her Pie Day this year. And I just loved the colors in it, but I was really trying hard to be good. And then she came out with a series of Wild Atlantic colorways that were based on her trip to Ireland last year. And then she had me, and I just gave in and ordered them, but I have no regrets. So this is the Wild Atlantic pie on the bounce base. So the pie colorway, it's PI, and these, you cannot make a matching pair of socks. The colors are dyed in such a way that the stripes are, let me think how to word this. They're dyed using the numbers in pi. So 3.14. So the first color is, say if it's this long, this is 3, then the next color, which is, or next number, which is 1, is going to be a third that length, and then 4. So you're going to have the third stripe will be like the length of the first color plus the length of 1. So, and it goes all the way like that through the numbers of pi, which never repeat, which is why you can't match it up. And so all of the stripes are relative to each other according to the sequence of pi. I think I explained that very poorly, but it's a fun way to knit up a colorway if you don't mind having socks that don't match. And what threw me, I think I've only done one other pie colorway, and I remember thinking that she'd forgotten to put a color, that she'd missed a color. And then I went, oh, I wonder if that's a 0. And sure enough, I went and looked at the sequence, and it was at 0, and so she didn't dye that color because it was 0. So there was no stripe of it. So it's quite a clever way of doing it. So I'm looking forward to knitting those up. And then the 2 other colorways in the series are Wild Atlantic Pub Vibes, and I got this one on the Mountain Tweed BFL base, and I didn't, probably wasn't paying attention, but I got a mini with this one, and I think I'm going to knit these ones up for Cameron. And then this is the Wild Atlantic Wildflowers, and I got this on the bedazzled base. And again, got a mini, so look how gorgeous is that. So I thought it was interesting. I got 2 wildflower colorways, and you can see some similarities in the color choices, but I love how the now I never remember if it's shade or hue, or the intensities are very different. So you get 2 very different wildflower interpretations, equally beautiful. So I have actually had it in the back of my mind that I wanted to find a wildflower colorway, because one of my favorite things is Cameron and I have gone on several different hikes over the years in subalpine meadows with all the wildflowers, and so now I have 2 different colorways that can sort of represent that experience for myself, even though these are based on wildflowers in Ireland. Anyway, lots of beautiful yarns to knit up. Not that I needed more, but I succumbed. I succumbed to the temptation. So what's been going on in my life since we last spoke about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago? Renovations, of course. If you're new here, we are having a entire kitchen renovation. Everything was pulled out right back to the walls. We closed in one of 2 doors on the, we had 2 doors, one regular door, one sliding door going out to the same deck. And so we eliminated the regular door so we could accommodate more cupboard space, countertop and cupboard space. And so it's amazing how much has changed in just 3 weeks. And it's been obviously a disruption to our lives because we don't have a functioning kitchen, but we do have a perfectly acceptable little temporary kitchen set up in our laundry area that's worked really well. I think we've only ordered takeout twice, and that wasn't because we couldn't cook something, it's because we were too lazy and didn't want to cook something. So it's been working out well, but I've spent a lot of time downstairs in our family room just to sort of stay out of the way and away from all the noise and dust. And oh, is there a lot of dust. First it was drywall dust, and now it's sawdust dust. But it's all worth it. It's just coming together so beautifully. It's actually kind of overwhelming. It doesn't feel like my kitchen yet, but every day there are new changes. So once again, I have chronicled the experience for those of you who are interested, and I've put together, I think it's about a 10 or 12 minute video that I will put at the end in case you are interested in seeing sort of what's happened during the last couple of weeks and all the changes that have taken place. Cameron continues to improve. He has a specialist appointment next week, so we're anxious to hear what she has to say. He has been working and he's doing very well. Easter happened since we last spoke, so I hope for all of you who celebrate Easter that you had, and I guess Passover also took place. So I hope if you celebrate either of those holidays in either a religious or a secular way, that you had a nice holiday. We didn't do anything too much, except we did get invited to dinner at our daughter and son-in-law's house, and so we took some treats for the kids and some cheesecake for dessert, and had a nice dinner, afternoon visit and dinner with them. Other than that, I don't think there's been much going on. I did not take the time to think up something good for the week, but there's been lots of good things, and really it's just very exciting to see our renovations just finally taking place after a number of years of planning and saving. And yeah, the workers have been just great. And yeah, the experience has been as painless as it can possibly be, for which I am grateful. So I guess maybe my something good is I'm glad to see spring arriving, because it really is just such a pleasure to see the flowers and see the sunshine and the blue sky, and to, go without long sleeves. Although it still has been chilly at times. It was frosty this morning, for example. So it's not, winter still has a little bit of a hold, but spring is definitely taking hold itself. So I think that's it. So stay tuned if you want to see what's been going on in my house for the past 2 weeks, renovation-wise. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, as always. Thank you for all of your comments and participation in the Ravelry group. Appreciate that very much. Take care until I talk to you next time. And I hope that's very soon. So enjoy your crafting in the meantime. And yeah, I hope to talk to you soon. Bye now. It is the beginning of week 3 of our kitchen renovation, and so I thought I would do a quick recap of week 2 so you could fully appreciate the massive changes that are going to happen over the next few days. So first thing you'll notice is there's no more plastic separating the kitchen from the rest of the house. That came down this morning, and the guys moved this big pile of trim into the hallway here. I painted that over the weekend. Let's step into the kitchen. I have to be careful because they've put a final coat on the floor. The flooring is going to happen this afternoon. So in the meantime, you can see that all the drywall got finished. I painted the ceiling, and I've also painted around the doors and window. So that's one side of the kitchen, and I'm just going to move over so I can show it to you from the other side. So there's the door into the hallway, and then the door into the living room. So everywhere there's white, there's going to be cabinets. So the painting wasn't too big a job, except downstairs. It turned out to be more than I'd bargained for. Over there against the wall, you can see our flooring and the tiles for our backsplash. I have to be careful where I walk because of the floor still being a little bit wet. There you go. There's our flooring tiles. They're vinyl tiles, and there was a bit of a glitch because the grout that we'd ordered to go in between, like grouting strips, they didn't get sent, but our contractor managed to find something a little bit lighter but still perfectly acceptable, and so our flooring will proceed as planned. Originally it looked like it was going to have to be delayed. And I'll put this back here. Over here, and here's our backsplash tiles. The coloring is not quite right. There are no lights in this room right now, so nothing's coming out exactly the right color, but hopefully you can tell that the two match. And this is looking down the stairway. This morning, a couple guys came and put new plywood on top of the treads, and then put this flooring compound on it too. So I'm not sure exactly when those are going to get finished, but they're well on their way. Finally, here's a look at our downstairs bathroom. You can see it's all freshly repainted. Ran into a bit of a problem here because I had to try and match up our old paint color, which I couldn't do 100%. So instead of just painting where the drywall had been replaced, I had to repaint the whole bottom part of our bathroom. But I taped off the wallpaper and all the edges, and everything turned out really well. It's not perfect, but I can live with it. Here we are, it's Tuesday morning, day 2 of week 3, and we now have flooring. The guys stayed late last night to get it done. It's not 100% finished yet. You can see there's tape in a couple of spots. That's just to help those areas adhere better to the glue. There's also some glue residue here and there. Apparently it cleans up better when it's dry, so I'm sure they'll be removing that today. And there's also that spot there and one little square behind me that doesn't have any flooring, but those areas are going to be under cabinets, so nobody but us will ever know. There was no sense paying for a whole extra box of flooring when we only needed several tiles. And they were aware of it going into it, so they planned their installation based on the idea that they may not have enough to completely finish the floors. I'll bring you over to the window to give you maybe a better close-up look. There's still no artificial lighting in here, and it is dark and wet and gloomy outside, so the lighting is not ideal. But I think I mentioned yesterday, these are vinyl tiles, and then they have these kind of plastic grout strips that go in between them. So you can see here, that's where one meets the other, and as you can see, there is some glue on there, but like I say, that's going to get cleaned up. The color is not what we had originally chosen, but it's very close. Definitely close enough, and we were really happy our contractor was able to find a solution to ensure that our work wasn't held up. We are very, very happy with how everything looks so far. Give you a look from another angle, and today is even more exciting because the cabinets start to go in. They're going to be dropped off this morning, and then the installer is coming this afternoon. So those will be installed over the next few days. So I'll be sure to give you a look at that process. Let's go into the kitchen and see what it looks like after day 1 of cabinet installation. But first, I want to show you what our hallway looks like. I'm just going to turn this way. It is full of cabinet doors and shelves, and if you turn the other direction towards the living room, there's more of the same. We are truly living in a construction zone right now. Let's go into the kitchen and see what order has emerged from the chaos of yesterday. So you can see right in front of me, that's where our kitchen sink used to be and will be again. So the cabinets have been installed there and all along that wall. Just to the left of where that garbage can is sitting, there used to be a door leading outside there. So that has all been filled in and replaced with a countertop and cabinets, so much more usable space there. And then the corner cabinet has been installed. I am really thrilled about this. Our prior cabinet was extremely unpractical. The part that was on the left side used to extend sort of behind the main part, so it was really useless. You had to pull everything out of the front part in order to access anything in the back. Therefore, anything that was in the back never got used. So I'm going to walk in to the room, and then I'm going to turn around. Still a lot of stuff in here. So here you can see that from a different perspective. Where the step ladder is, that's where our stove is going to be, and then you can see a cabinet, bottom cabinet mounted just to the right of that, and then to the right of that is where our fridge is going to go. Next to our fridge, it's going to be a broom closet, and you can see it tilted there on an angle. They sent one that was just a little bit too short, and so that has to be replaced. So let's back up a little so you can see the pantry here. So this is where our pantry was before, but it has been extended a little bit to the right. And that area in the middle where the box is sitting, that's all going to be countertop there. We used to have countertop like that before, but this is longer. So again, some more usable space. And even though the pantry itself is about 6 inches less deep, I think we're going to have, again, more usable space. Also, our cabinets before never extended to the ceiling, and these ones all do. So right there, there's a lot more storage. So I'm going to back up again, turn around, and just show you the final wall. So there's not much work that's been done here, but this is going to be floor to ceiling cabinets. Some of them with glass shelves and doors. There'll be some open shelves in the middle, and then where that gap is on the right hand side, that's where there's going to be a little bar fridge right next to this wine rack. So that's how things look like after day one. Pretty exciting, but also a little unnerving. Honestly, it doesn't feel like my kitchen yet. I feel like I'm walking into a very strange, unfamiliar space, but I know that I will get used to it in time. I'm really excited to see today's progress. Today is Thursday, day 4 of week 3, and this is the wall that is adjacent to our dining area. Our table will sit in front there. This is one of the changes that I've been anticipating the most because it is completely different from what we had there before. So on the top left, those cabinets are going to have glass shelves and glass doors. And then on the right hand side is sort of a little bar area. So the gap at the bottom will hold our little mini fridge, and you can see the wine rack propped up beside it. It still has to be mounted. We decided to bring a little bit of wood into this area, both to sort of match our table and chairs, and also to complement the laminate flooring from the adjacent living room. And I really love the way it looks. It's just a nice touch to just kind of warm things up a little bit in that area, break up the weight a little bit. It is just so exciting to see all of these changes taking place each day. The installer will not be here tomorrow. He doesn't come back until Monday, so I don't think much is going to change between now and then. But so much has changed already this week. It's just incredible to me. What an awesome way to end the week. All of the cabinets now have shelves and doors. So you can see in the center of the picture, we're still awaiting the upper cabinet for that broom closet there. And that's where the fridge will go. And then we're also waiting for a spice pullout that goes next to the stove. But everything else is in place and has doors and shelves. And let me turn you around and show you the other side of the room. And there's the big wall with all of the doors on it. And you can see in this cabinet, there's the glass shelves, and there will also be some lights in there. So as I say, just a fantastic way to end the week. We're really starting to see everything come together now.